What is this metal object wrapped around a tree limb I found recently in Manitoba, Canada? Approximately 5 feet long, it feels like aluminum, and it definitely has been out there for a few years. At first, I thought it might have been an exhaust pipe from some type of vehicle, but I'm not too sure. I don't have too much other information. Can you please help me identify what this thing is? It's the external exhaust pipe to a DHC-2 Beaver. Hopefully, the rest of the plane isn't down the side of the mountain. Or it could have just fallen off without catastrophic damage to the aircraft. They just install them in winter for cabin heat, and they have a big cone up front that looks like a funnel as an air scoop. I bet they cost a mint. What is this small metal device with a power button that, when plugged in, causes it to hum to life, like a fan or heater? There are very small amounts of air being felt coming out of the various holes, but not with any real power for it to be a fan. The gray or silver circle on the top just seems to be some piece of metal. I haven't been able to determine any further importance or purpose for it. I'm really curious what this could be. Thanks. It's a 1960s Marpac Sleepmate white noise machine. It was patented on February 11, 1964, by James K. Buckwalter of Elkhart, Indiana. It uses a real fan inside an acoustic chamber to produce a natural, consistent sound of rushing air, to mask disruptive background sounds for better sleep, concentration, or privacy. Users can fine-tune the sound by rotating the outer shell to change the airflow, and thus the tone, while also adjusting the overall volume. It effectively blocks out sudden noises like traffic, snoring, or noisy neighbors, creating a consistent sound environment. What is this small cast-iron circular disc with raised lettering embedded in concrete in my backyard? My house was built in 1885. This slab of concrete was definitely a later addition, though I couldn't say when exactly. It reminds me a bit of a coin, but larger and thicker than any I've ever seen. It's a couple of inches at its widest and maybe a 1/4 inch thick. Because it's embedded in the concrete, I have no idea if it is a completely circular disc or just rounded on the side sticking out of the ground. The dark brown circle in the second photo is a hole of dirt. I've tried my best to get a good photo of the lettering, and alas, this is the best I can seem to do. I attempted to Google image search to no avail. I would be interested to know its use and how old it might be. It's an antique cast-iron cap cover for a removable steel clothes post. I found a complete specimen. It was made by the Bank Steel Post Company and patented on January 3, 1922 by Willis G. Banks of Newark, New Jersey. It's a cap cover for the socket that was driven into the ground for the clothes post. The socket was covered in order to keep the dirt and sand from entering when the post is not received therein. What is this small 2 by 1 inch copper fixture with 3 protruding shelves that have holes running through? It's located inside a kitchen closet of a 50s apartment building, possibly an old electrical wiring thing. I couldn't see anything on Google Lens. I'd be really interested to know what this is or what it's used for. It's a mount for a 1950s isomat ice crusher. We had one in the house in which I grew up, built in 1950. The ice crusher was added sometime in the late 50s. I recognized it instantly. What is this old metal post that looks at least 60 plus years old here in Fresno, California? I've seen them in random places since I was a kid, and this particular one is right next to the canal on Dakota and Maroa. They're scattered randomly across the city, and I never seen or heard anyone ever even mention them. Here's everything I know. It's about 25 to 30 feet tall, about the same height as a telephone pole. It is metal and shows signs of rust damage. It looks kind of like old tornado sirens that we had when I lived in Alabama, but the city I live in now has never had a tornado, so I have no idea what this is. All the older folks I've asked about it have never given me an answer. I would appreciate any information on it. This is an air raid siren. Installed in early 1956, intended to warn the city of an impending attack. They were placed all over town, mostly in the downtown area. They purchased 27 of these sirens for just about $28,000 with federal funds. The sirens first sounded on July 6, 1956, and were to be sounded monthly thereafter. They then continued monthly testing until 1958, when they realized that people were familiarizing the sirens and would not respond in the event that the sirens would go off for a real emergency. They cut all the sirens off from power, never to be heard again, until January of 1972, when they had plans to restore the sirens. Restoration work started in January 1973, and the sirens were back up and running by April 1973. Tests continued until the summer of 1977, when the city shut them off permanently, never to be heard again. They were taken out of service because of the advances in telecommunications and because the city expanded beyond the sirens' reach. In 1984, the siren located at Ashland and West Avenues was set off by pranksters and could be heard for miles. Many newer residents of Fresno were confused on what to do, while the older residents were familiar with the sound. Fresno removed half of the sirens sometime around 1986 and 1990. Now, only 15 out of the formerly 27 sirens exist. What is this figurine I found in a gutter in Southern California around 1982, when I was around 4 or 5? This was just before that pewter figure craze hit all the malls. It's about 1.5 inches tall and heavier than it looks, possibly bronze. It is a pretty sentimental piece, as my dad, who passed away, spotted it, and I've always carried it with me. My best guess was an early D&D piece, but there are no markings or signature, or any indicator of a manufacturer. My own Google searches came up with nothing. I would love to know if anybody can tell who might have made it, or if there are more figures in a collection. Thanks in advance. It's a 1976 Kinder Egg toy. They used to have way cooler stuff in them. It was manufactured by the Italian company Ferrero since 1974. If it's found in California, it is contraband, probably smuggled in from Canada. Kinder Surprise is illegal in the USA because FDA regulations prohibit putting inedible items inside food, particularly choking items like Kinder Surprise toys. It was probably ditched by a concerned parent who did not want to go to Kinder Surprise jail. This was in an antique store, and they had no clue what it was. They thought it came out of an old country bank. I tried Google Lens, but I can't find any other pictures of it online. Does anyone have any idea where it could have come from? It's an antique quick change machine, a coin storage that allows the seller to quickly dispatch coins. It was patented on August 28, 1917, by Morris A. Barr of Ardmore, Pennsylvania. It kind of reminds me of this when I was a kid on the bus and different stores. You put a stack of coins in, and the coins slid down those troughs between the rails. What is this shovel with a small trap door? It says it was patented May 30th, 1911, with no other markings. Pulling the ring opens a small door in the shovel. The handle is hollow, and the end cap is threaded. Gemini thinks it's an anal fenestrated speculum, while ChatGPT thinks it's a coal shovel. Neither makes sense to me. Does anyone know what it's supposed to be used for? Please let us know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.